Francine Sandell. I'm 57 years old. I'm happier than I have ever been. My life is great. I have so much to be thankful for and so much that I appreciate about it. I would like to convey a story to you. It's a true story about my life. And in so doing, to offer the possibility that hope exists even in the darkest of times. Exactly 8 years ago this week, I attempted suicide after having been hospitalized 5 times for anxiety and depression in 3 years. My family of origin suffered greatly. When I was 12 years old, my father died from emphysema and heart disease. The last 2 years of his life, he could not work and he would pace the house, just depressed. And I think a lot of what happened to him had to do with World War II and what he suffered in the war. And he never, even as, 1968 when he died, still the remnants of that affected him. My mother attempted suicide 5 times, 3 times before I was born. And then when I was 16 years old, she had taken a whole lot of aspirin and medication. I came home from school and my sister said, well, Mom has tried to kill herself. And that was that. I didn't live with her after that. She ended up in a state hospital, had to undergo electric shock therapy. And then later on down the road, my mother eventually passed away in she survived that ordeal, but she passed away in 1995 from pancreatic cancer. My next brother Bill died in 1997 from a cerebral hemorrhage. My oldest brother John took his life in 1999. He hung himself. My sister died in 2007. She choked on food. Each of these family members suffered this anxiety and depression, which seemed to be our hereditary stuff. They also had problems with alcohol and drug abuse, in each case in different forms. I'm the only survivor of my family of origin, and I feel strongly that there's a purpose that I am. What I did the night of June 3rd, 2006, in the middle of the night, was I took the shop vac hose and I hooked it up to our Ford Taurus station wagon that was sitting in the driveway. I hooked it up to the exhaust and then in through the window, and I stuffed pillows around it. Then I had a whole big bottle of ibuprofen, all my medication at that time. I had been on all kinds of anxiety and depression meds. Plus I drank a lot of wine, and I don't drink and I don't handle liquor at all. But that night in the car, I had written a note to my son and to my husband, Kevin, at the time, apologizing for what I was doing, hoping that they could understand that I just couldn't deal with this anymore. And I wasn't clearly thinking. You're not in a clear space when you're thinking like that. But I was hoping to just fade away because I couldn't deal with it anymore. So I took all that stuff, I turned the ignition, and then the next part of the story was what was told to me because I don't remember. But essentially, our next door neighbor's son was visiting from downstate. He was in his early 20s. I had never met him, and I haven't met him to this day. He happened to be out in the middle of the night, and he pulled me from the car, happened to have paramedic training, administered CPR, and called 911. Had he not done that, I would not be here doing this. So I'm forever grateful that he did that. I ended up in a coma for 7 days, given a 20% chance of survival. And if I did survive, it was uncertain as to my mental and physical well-being. And I did survive, obviously, and I'm actually better than I've ever been. But because of what I had done, I had to undergo myself electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, which has been called electric shock therapy. And I think I had that probably 30 times in a 2-year period, but it could be more than that. I just don't remember. Like I said, I'd wake up in recovery and a little groggy and go back to the hospital room, or later on when I was home, I would drag myself home. And honestly, and actually, as scary and terrifying as that was for me every single time, to go there, and every single time I was like, wondering if I would ever, be okay. It actually helped me. That ECT treatment actually helped to reboot the program, and I can't explain completely why, I just know that it did. So as I was recovering. I was able to keep it afloat even in and out of the hospital for 6 different times, which is amazing in and of itself. But I started focusing on my own self-esteem and my own sense of well-being and who I am as a person. And even though I had studied a lot of spiritual things and I'd read a lot and learned a lot, I guess I never really honored myself as much as I needed to do, because it was like I couldn't go back to what I had done and get back in that state. It was like go up or there's nowhere left to go. So I started reading all kinds of things on positive perspective. I wrote lists about appreciation, about how much I love myself and appreciate myself, and step by step I felt like I was able to kind of shift the balance, whereas before the depression was up here and this positive part of me was hidden down there. The more I focused on the positive, the more I really allowed myself to say, no matter what's happening now, I'm going to feel better. It really did shift the balance. And in the process of my own strength, my marriage just didn't seem to be working anymore, and it had been almost 25 years. I basically told my husband I want a divorce and I'm moving out of the house, which I did. And it wasn't out of contention, or we never went through courts through divorce. It was just, I needed to figure out who I was. So I rented a house and I moved my business there, and I lived there by myself and started to feel for the first time ever at 55 or 53 who I was. So it doesn't matter when you start figuring out more about who we really are. It's just about doing it. And I also knew that by doing that, as hard as it was to leave my home and my son, who was then late teens, and everything he'd been through junior high with me, that I wanted to show him, and somehow it would work out, that if you follow your heart and stay true to yourself, then that's what I wanted him to know, that I was doing that even though I was leaving him, and he stayed back with his dad. So it was time for me to emerge. On my birthday in 2009, my psychiatrist gave me a clean bill of health, no more ECT, and he told me that I was a 1% of cases who actually come through what I did. And then day by day, moment by moment, I focused on what I wanted my life to be, that it's a positive universe and this thing that I call source energy. I knew through my love of nature, and that the more I focused on my being a part of that and that who I am, that I could tell a new and improved version of myself, a new story about myself, and that's what I've been doing ever since that time. I met Dave in June of 2008. He was coming to me for massage therapy 3 times a week. He moved in with me in August of 2009 when my divorce was final. Dave and I were married in September of 2012. We both know, and you'll hear Dave's story, that we've had a second chance at life through harrowing, almost nearly dying, both of us experiences, unique but similar. And we share a love of offering hope to others and being an example to people that all healing is possible, no matter how dark or difficult it seems. I'm happier than I have ever been. My deepest desire is to assist others. Given my hereditary predisposition, I should not be here at all, but I am, and I plan to be here for a very long time. I think too, even maybe bigger than wanting to help everyone and be grand and grandiose, I just want to honor my family. I think that might even be the biggest piece, to honor my parents and my siblings who struggled. And they have given me the gift of understanding of how to move through trauma, but they went out at the same time, and they weren't bad people, maybe just challenged or very sensitive people. And I love and miss them every day and feel the fullness of our beautiful family bond that always resides in my heart.